come a little closer and lend me your ears. Don't worry, you keep yours while I keep mine.
In each episode, we'll dig into the major stories, uncover the truth, and retrieve gems from Yada's blog.
We'll discuss what's right, bark about what's wrong, wag our tails at the thrill of discovery, and take you on adventures through the exciting world we live in today.
So, fasten your curiosity leash and get ready.
Right then, coming to you with another episode of the Yada's Vlog on a Blog. Tomorrow's news, disseminated today. Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. We shall. Good to see you, Dr. Jeff. It's always a pleasure. For those who may not know, Dr. Jeff and I have been buds on this journey for, about 4,000 years, maybe a little shy of that. I think I first met you, it's been over 20 years that we have been together. Working side by side, defending one another, supporting one another. It's been a great journey to have been your friend all of this time. And who's that other guy off to the left? I think that is our Kevin Sir Shorts.
Yes.
The coordinator of all things now that are presentations online by all of those who are chipping in and doing their own shows. You are the maestro of the show.
I guess.
Yeah.
I try not to volunteer, but it just happens. So
it just happens. Yeah, you've got a lot of really good ones. So excellent. Excellent. All right. So our first item here on the blog, where we go over things that are posted in social media and comment on them, so that those who are interested might know what's right and wrong in the social media sphere. This was a post where a picture was presented of a man in his phylacteries, these little black boxes and leather wrappings around the arm and head. And it was saying that this has been a tradition of Jews for 3,000 years. And they get up every morning and they put the little black boxes on their noggins and on their upper arm, dedication to their God. No. And then they had the audacity to say that this is based on the Torah and cite Deuteronomy in the 6th chapter. But guess what? They don't say that. Now, what's interesting, of course, is that every thoughtful person, every literate person on the planet should know when you cite Devarim 6, and you should go right to Devarim 6:4 and 6:5, because they are as important as any statement ever made anywhere in any book at any time. And it's a statement that Israel has universally corrupted. It reads, "Listen, Israel, Yahweh is our God. Yahweh is one." Those words were spoken by Moshe, who ought to know, if you're going to say, that source is credible. I'd start with Moshe as saying that he is credible. Yahweh introduced himself to him, told Moshe his name, told us that he had one and only name. But guess what? Your brethren, Dr. Jeff, have managed to turn listen into Yabber.
Yep. It says, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Echad.
Yes, it does. It doesn't say pray to Hashem, does it?
No.
Doesn't mention Hashem, doesn't mention Adonai, doesn't mention Lord, and it most certainly doesn't say speak, does it? And yet they make this their everyday prayer.
Yep.
No prayer here. It says do the opposite of talking.
Listen.
Shema is not a hard word to understand. It only means one thing. Listen. Listen, Israel. Yahweh. It doesn't say Adonai. It doesn't say Hashem. It doesn't say blessed be he. What kind of arrogance does it take to remove Yahweh's name from his testimony and claim that you're Torah observant. I mean, that's got to be the most audacious and repulsive thing that a group of people have ever done. And this group of people have done it now for at least 2,500 years. That they have arrogantly, preposterously, repulsively removed Yahweh's own name from his testimony, from his instructions, and replaced it with Lord. It ought to make you want to vomit. I mean,
I know.
It does. It's a total violation of the third statement. And it's the arrogance that gave rise to the origins and genesis of the Mishnah and the Gemara, which are known as the Talmud, with the Mishnah being the oral laws that were delivered to Moshe Rabbeinu, and then the Gemara.
Moshe was no Rabbeinu, and there were no oral laws. In fact, there were no laws. There were no laws. There was no oral Torah, and Moshe wasn't a rabbi. So that's only 3 lies there, huh? That's
they're just
excellent justification. Start off with 3 lies.
Just getting warmed up. And then in the Gemara, you have these misfits and miscreants arguing among themselves, engaging in mental masturbation, explaining it. It beguiles the mind. But I'll take you further here, looking at this photo here. I'm looking at the Chabad site, the Chabadniks. They go to Deuteronomy, Devarim 6:8, and it says, "And you shall bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be for frontlets, totafot, between your eyes."
By the way, the word that you just said, it's only used 4 times. And it does not have a reliable definition. There is no lexicon that will actually ascribe a definition to it. All they say is it's from an unused root, which means to encircle. But that the word does not mean frontlet. It certainly does not mean box. It is we're always in the plural, by the way. So to do it correctly, if it were a box, but it doesn't say box. God's got a couple of words for boxes that big box would be teba. As in,
there you go.
As in the vessel that Moshe built. That would be a really, really big box. The reason that we know it's a kind of an interesting thing is that ark and Latin that is used to render it today, we call it Noah's Ark. People do because ark is the Latin word for really big box, and the reason that the Aaron Bereth, which is known commonly as the Ark of the Covenant, is called an ark is because it's also a box. So if God wanted to say box, really big box, or smaller box, he would have Aaron or Teba. He didn't use those words, did he?
No, he didn't.
No.
They doubled down also. They doubled down in Devarim 11:18 by saying you shall place these words of mine upon your heart and upon your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eye. Again, engaging in mythical, nonsensical elaboration that doesn't exist.
Yeah, the worst part of the whole thing is they have misrepresented the opening statement. This is a paragraph. It's not a sentence to be taken out of context. This is a paragraph. The paragraph begins with one of the most important messages ever delivered from man or from God to man. Listen, Yisrael, our God, it's Moshe speaking, is one. Yahweh is our God. Yahweh is one. I mean, that's what it says. They removed Yahweh's name, just to take the audacity to do that, and then pretend that you're somehow honoring said God when you removed his name and you replaced it with Lord, and you're claiming that you're honoring him. And then when he says to listen, you turn that into a prayer, which is exactly the opposite. I mean, it's so repulsive what Jews have done and how they've been lied to by these freaking rabbis. And then the next line is, after listen, Yisrael, Yahweh is our God, Yahweh is one, is you should love Yahweh. Wait, you love Yahweh? If you were in love with somebody, would you rip their name out of their own text? Would you, if they sent you a love note, would you, the first thing you do is to scratch it out or erase it? Would you chisel it out of his message to you? Which is what they have done. You should love Yahweh, your God,
7,000 crimes,
with
Greg.
with all
7,000
of your
crimes.
heart, which means judgment. With all of your best judgment. The heart was
All of your
the
best judgment,
seat
right.
of judgment back in the day. With all of your judgment, with all of your soul, which is the part of you that matters,
Mm-hmm.
and all of your might, not your wussydom,
Right.
not your religious rituals, with all of your capability. Then it says, these words. Which words? Those that he just spoke. The single most important words God ever communicated to his people. It's those words. It's not random words. It's those words. Listen to Yahweh. Yahweh is our God. Yahweh is one. All of which they corrupted. But it's those words, and loving Yahweh, your God, with all of your judgment, with all of your core nature, your conscience.
So that's exactly
and
right.
all of your capability. Those
We've been
words.
sa- We've been
Those words.
saying
And
for
only
years-
those words. He says, these words, which for the benefit of the relationship, I instructed you this day. They should be upon your heart. So they guide your judgment. Teach them.
Teach.
Repeatedly to impress and sharpen your children. And you should speak of them when you live and reside in your home and with your family. And when you walk along the path, and when you rest, when you're lying down, and when you rise standing up. What words? Yahweh is our God. Yahweh is one. Listen, Yisrael. You should love Yahweh, your God, with all of your heart, your soul, and your might. Those are the words you should be teaching to your children. And yet there is not a single rabbi, not a single Jew anywhere outside of the group that has read the books that Yahweh has inspired me to write that even says Yahweh's name. That even know this says, listen, Yisrael, not pray, Israel. That says Yahweh is our God, that Yahweh is one, and that we should love Yahweh with all of our capability, with all of our best judgment, with all of our soul.
That is the most foundational, what you
Statement
just
of the world.
said. And it's the most foundational
And they
declaration.
bungled it.
And they totally misrepresent it. And in the process, we've been saying this for years, they commit one, if not the greatest crime against Yah that you can be committed. And they do it 7,000 times.
Sure.
But here,
the statement that is repeated in Devarim, but is presented initially on the 2 tablets with the 10 instructive statements. The third statement, after the first says that Yahweh is our God, and that you will not exist with any other gods. And it says that Yahweh is the one who liberated you. The second one tells you not to be religious in every possible way, and yet you are. And it says because you are religious, you're going to corrupt your children to the third and fourth generation. And the third one says there is no forgiveness for those who negate Yahweh's name. And that is exactly what they have done. And in this simple statement, Yahweh is presented 3 times, and they've erased all 3. The entire statement was about Yahweh, and they eliminated his name. Unforgivable. It's unforgivable for everyone that believes them. It's unforgivable to everyone who has promoted this. This should be by itself the death of Judaism. They're presenting this as a validation of the religion, and it should be the demise of the religion if anyone is even quasi-literate. But let's go on. It says more. So it's not just that you should speak of this in your home, that these words for the benefit of the relationship should guide your judgment, that you should impress them and teach them on your children to sharpen their intellect. And you should speak of them when you live in your homes, with your family, when you walk, when you stand up, when you lie down. Then he says, so bind them, which is to be closely associated with them and be in unison with them. With Yahweh is our God. Listen to Yahweh. Yahweh is one. Love Yahweh. Your greatest capability. Be in unison. Be associated with. That as a sign of consent. Not a box. As a sign or a signal of your consent. And then he says, on your hand. Not your upper arm. On your hand, on your yod. What does hand mean? It speaks of influence. So what he's saying is to these words, listen, Yisrael, Yahweh is our God, Yahweh is one. You should love Yahweh with all of your best judgment, with your consciousness, with all of your might. That concept ought to guide your actions with your hand as a sign of consent. And they are for totabath, always plural, with no known definition, although the root, toth, is to encircle. They are for understanding, bayan. They are for understanding what you see. Or you can say, render it stupid between your eyes. But even if you render it stupid between your eyes, where's the damn box that they're wearing? Is it on their nose between their eyes? No, it's on top of their head. Even if they want to pretend that God said box and not sign. Even if they want to pretend it goes, then they had to put it between their eyes. Have to go a little smaller box, pals. No, they want to be seen as righteous. So they wear that damn black box, making themselves look stupid, annoying God on the top of their forehead.
Yeah. They do the same thing with the Tzitziot.
God, it pisses me off when Jews are undermined, their relationship is estranged with Yahweh because of the malfeasance of these lying, disgustable, reprehensible religious retrobates called rabbis, which means I'm great. I got news for you. When you show up before Yahweh, you're wearing all your religious paraphernalia. You'll be groveling on the ground before you pay sevenfold recompense, and then your sorry soul will be dispatched to Sheol, the place you have denied forevermore, and deservedly so.
on a personal note, I had a very, very close, good friend who I parted company with because he wanted to teach me the Shema. Hero Yisrael, using the Adonai, the whole bill. I said, no, stop. It doesn't say here. It says Shema, which is listen. Name is Yahweh. Don't give me any Adonai. Don't give me Hashem. And he basically said, Jeff, there's something really wrong with you. You need to go see a rabbi. I think you need to go. And
wrong with you. You're reading Yahweh's testimony as he delivered it, as it is proven accurate, because we have the Dead Sea Scrolls. Before the invention of rabbis, preceding the invention of rabbis, we have the actual text from Moshe quoting Yahweh. And he wants you to know there's something wrong with you, not him, for believing those who change the word of God.
I terminated by telling him he can take his phylacteries and put them where the sun don't shine, along with his tefillin, which belongs in a garment.
The tefillin, it should actually be as the description of it is.
I mean the
inside. It's the a blue flower, a flax flower, inside the hem of your garment to remind you of the time of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. That's the purpose. It's not to sit there as an ugly string hanging out from your waist to say, I'm stupid because I'll believe the rabbis over God. Pretty sad. Besides that, we really don't care what they say. Here's another really sad sack of a man. Barnea is finally, leaving as the Mossad chief. This idiot, who is largely responsible for what occurred on 10/7, because he had all of the intel and he ignored it. He had actually the entire plan of Alaska flood, which is what 10/7 was. Had the entire thing given to him, and he shelved it. So this piece of shit stays in power after subjecting Israel to 10/7 because he couldn't be bothered with doing his job. And then he digs Israel in even further because it's this piece of crap that promoted the myth that if Israel attacked Iran, there would be regime change. And he put Israel in an indefensible position, unsurvivable position as a result. Israel, you have the absolute worst choice in leaders.
Beyond treason. I mean,
it's treason. And now he's going out and he's saying he still wants regime change in Iran. You assured that there wouldn't be regime change. I mean, you can't be that stupid. So since you're not that stupid, you just got to be evil.
His culpability is greater than that of the Israeli leadership that blew it in 73 at the Kippurim War, when they knew that they were going to be attacked by Egypt and Syria.
Yes.
He actually had the game plan.
Even for that one?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a repeat offender.
Oh, what I'm saying is that he even had more evidence than the leadership did back in Golda Meir's time, when they knew that they were going to be attacked on Kippurim, and they didn't strike the first blow to preempt it.
And almost lost the country over it.
That's correct.
Yeah, so he's a repeat treason offender.
He had the information, he had the game plan in his hand, and he chose to just.
So you know how people like that survive, Jeff? Or Kevin, how do people that are as evil, maniacal, disastrous for their country remain in power when they are repeat offenders on on being treasonous to their country. How do they remain in power? You know?
Solution, problem, reaction. No.
Wow.
Blackmail.
Yeah.
Blackmail. He had the goods on Netanyahu.
Okay.
That's how he stayed in power. When Netanyahu tried to fire him, he came up with, I don't think you want to do that because of what I know about you. And the same thing was likely true back in the day. It's how J. Edgar Hoover ran the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
He had the goods, and so politicians were afraid to rein him in. So we ran as kind of the shadowy president of the country.
Right.
Created a horrible institution that's been a blight on America ever since.
Yeah.
This one is a blight on Israel.
The internet is back on per se in Iran, and lots of people touting pictures of, oh, well, the revolution is back on, people in the streets, and their pictures are, and their videos are people in bicycles riding in the streets. Okay. And this is their big revolution, right? It's, there is absolutely nothing going on in Iran as far as revolution or overthrow of the IRGC.
No, as a matter of fact,
nothing.
that lie about 40,000 were killed by the regime wasn't even it's off by tenfold. And they continue to repeat the lie. So he is just nothing but a liar. And even that the group that was killed were killed because the Mossad armed Kurds and others to do this uprising, to create the appearance of a popular uprising. It wasn't even generic within the culture. It wasn't grassroots. It was inspired and armed by this thug. It's just rotten. It's just despicable. And they knew that there weren't 40,000 killed. They knew they inspired it. They knew it wasn't going anywhere. And yet they continued to champion it, drawing two countries into a war that has had nothing but disastrous consequences for everyone.
Yep.
It's been horrible for the Iranians and far worse for Israel and America and really everyone in the world.
And President Rahab keeps doubling down on the lie about the 40,000.
Oh yeah, all the time. And it's a known lie, and one promoted by this fool. You know, if you have to lie to make your case, you don't have a case.
Yeah.
That's the first one. You know. There are several pictures that of secular politicians, influencers. They call it my skin to crawl in. She, Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson are three among them. And Joe Rogan's now part of that group too. He's conspiratorial nutcase. But one other thing they all have in common is they're exceedingly popular. And you would think that if you had a following and you built your following by kissing the tush of one Donald Trump and waving the flag of MAGA, and that's how you became popular, and they turned on you and you turned on them, why would you have any credibility left? I mean, she's complaining here because it was Charlie Kirk that was responsible in significant part for rallying support for the pedophile and Satanist that is President of the United States. Yet he championed Twistian MAGA on behalf of the scum that is occupying the Oval Office, and she applauds him for that, and now is upset because Kash Patel is not releasing information on the assassination of her lover. Saying, you know, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't be in power. And so you should honor him by, giving up the what you know. They don't want to give up what they know because what they know doesn't serve the MAGA agenda. They want to make Charlie Kirk look like a saint to the cause. He's scum. You're scum. You know, these people that have on the blight on their soul that they promoted the man that the prophets say is Satan incarnate and who proves it every day, and Donald Trump, and weren't smart enough to recognize it when it was happening, and only jumped ship because their anti-Semitism got the best of them. It overpowered them, which is the only reason they jumped ship. They just wanted to be raging anti-Semites, because if you're not a raging anti-Semite today, you're not popular online.
Yeah, and she absolutely doesn't want any information released, because what that does, if it comes out, then there is no Israel collusion to kill Charlie Kirk, and that's her whole shtick. Right? So
Right,
I
that's
mean,
her shtick.
this is just theater, because Israel had nothing to do with the death of Charlie Kirk. That's a fact.
Yes.
Okay,
Now,
and she can't.
Israel
continue
Israel is tied up into it. Not because they arranged his assassination. Israel doesn't. Israel does assassinate people. It's clear, but did not assassinate him. The kid that pulled the trigger was an MCEL. He was a groper. He was a gamer. He was just a kid from a Mormon family lost in the online world, and there's a million of them out there. Israel, however, was in a pickle. He was the last of the significant influencers that was pro-Israel, and he turned against Israel. And his audience was snobby youth. I can't say snobby youth anymore, I guess, because we have some Gen Zers who got their act together. But that was his audience. And he spoke to that audience to make them MAGAs. He wanted them all to be MAGAs like him. He wanted them all to be Twistians like him. And that's what he promoted. So, he'd give away MAGA hats and speak of Twistianity and MAGAism as if they were one and the same. And that's what he did. And for years, he was pro-Israel because he thought that the part of the Bible that he paid attention to was supportive of Israel, when in fact it condemns Jews. So finally, he sees his pal Tucker get millions of dollars from the Qataris and become vastly more popular by speaking out against Israel. He puts his finger out and says, well, I'm in this for the buck.
Cha-ching.
Which is what he was in. He was in it for the buck. And he had received millions of bucks from Israel. Israel pays those who speak kindly to them about them. And so he was in it for the bucks, and he realized that the big bucks were not in support of Israel. The big bucks were to speak out against Israel and Jews and join the other anti-Semites out there. And she and Tucker Carlson proved that. So he jumped ship, and he turned against Israel. He also turned against Israel because he was losing that battle. Young Republicans are almost universally anti-Israel, as is America now. And so Israel is in a terrible spot. First of all, they tried to say, can we pay you more money? It's obviously about the money. We'll pay you more money to speak kindly to us. And he was in that negotiation, and he didn't like the fact that there were Jews who actually wanted him to do something for the money that he was taking from them.
Yeah.
He got all bent out of shape. Can you imagine those Jews are actually asking me to do something of value for the money that they're giving me? And so he became really nasty.
How despicable.
Yeah. And all the while he's in a fight with Nick Fuentes and his MCELs and his gropers. And the kid that kills him came out of Nick Fuentes' little online community. But no, Israel didn't assassinate him. She would be out of a job if she didn't have her stupid conspiracy theory. But if it wasn't for conspiracy and blame the Jews, Facebook and X and the like would all shut down. They'd have nothing to talk about. It's the dominant theme.
Gentlemen, has Candace Owens ever had a powwow with Erica Kirk?
I don't know, man. I just say that the whole thing is really, really stinky. I mean, these two are in a cat fight. I mean, I don't even care about their cat fight. I just think the whole thing is despicable.
It almost sounds to me like the assertion and the conspiratorial accusation that the Mossad killed Kennedy because Kennedy was going to stop them from constructing the reactor in Dimona.
Yeah. And the likelihood of that being the case is zero. There's lots of reasons why it is evident that Kennedy was assassinated, and the likely cause was the CIA and the military industrial complex in the United States. And it's the only logical explanation. And it's because Kennedy did not agree with their financial policy, and he did not agree with their war that they wanted with Cuba. And he didn't agree with their racism in continuing to oppress Black folk throughout the South. Kennedy's speeches on racial equality are the best ever made on the subject. His war on organized crime through his brother was really outstanding. He shut down Bay of Pigs, knowing that was a complete disaster. So he didn't play along, and his idea of fiscal policy was very different than the industrial complex. And I have come to agree with many people who recognize that democracy in America is a facade. It's just a game, and that nothing really changes behind the scenes on how America's run, and it's exceedingly evil, and it has manifested itself evilly. And if the president doesn't go along, they're dead. I think it's that simple. But it's our country that took him out, not Israel. Israel does a lot of bad stuff, but that's not one of them.
Yeah, you can't have a guy that is not allowed to defend himself, carry his own weapon, okay, be surrounded by Treasury agents 24/7, 365, and think that, it's a good gig. I get to make my own decisions, right?
Yeah, when it comes to Israel having a bomb too, if it wasn't for Jews, America wouldn't have a bomb. So, I mean, you want to pretend that that Kennedy was in a position where he was trying to prevent Israel, a Jewish state, from having the bomb, when the only reason America had the bomb was because of a bunch of Jews got together and made it possible. So, no, I'm not buying that. That is so absurd. Oh, wow. Here we go again.
The old catch-22.
You bomb them and they destroy every one of your bases around the region, and lock down even tighter on the strait, depriving all of your allies of energy. And you don't bomb them, and then they have no reason to give up control over the strait that is penalizing all of your allies. This is the ultimate catch-22, and it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. Trump has stepped in the deep doo-doo here, and there is no way to clean this doo-doo off of the foot without stepping in more doo-doo. He's gone off now and said, "I just don't care. I'm bored with the whole thing." Mm-hmm. How is that going to make it go away? You think that Iran is such the Stockholm child that by saying, "I don't care what you want to do anymore, you bore me," that Iran's going to say, "Oh, please, Donald, we don't want to bore you. You need to pay attention to us. We'll have a temper tantrum if you don't pay attention to." No, that is not the Iranian mindset.
Yeah.
Although they were pretty clever this last weekend. They in their embassies around the world, they wrote that Donald Trump was nothing but an old man who had lost control of his toys, was having a temper tantrum.
Absolutely. It is exactly the kid that says, "I want to take my ball and go home," and there's no one else on the field with him. right? Oh, I'm
Yes.
bored of this game. I'm not winning. I don't want to play anymore. And everybody else has left already, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah,
the
it's
system was
I
made
kind of
for you.
equate it to a 6-year-old snotty-nosed brat in a sandbox, and that brat stole a toy from a little girl that maybe is 3 years old that wanted to play in the sandbox. She played in the corner of the sandbox and went over with it, took the toy and whacked her across the side of the head, and then started kicking sand in her eyes and her face and her nose and beating her up. And when the child was crying, well, that was great fun. When the child was playing, oh, please don't beat me up anymore, that was fun. Egged him on. But when the child says, I'm not going to cry anymore, I'm not going to plead with you, it's a waste of time, and I'm just going to get up and leave the damn sandbox. You can have my damn toy. See if I care. And then he just sits in the sandbox all by himself. Nobody to terrorize, no one to kick sand in their face, no one to scream at, no one to abuse. And that's really boring for the bully. That's where Trump is.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
This is
amazing. This one. Oh boy, talk about stink. I mean, talk about stepping in it and not being able to get out of it. This is really stepping, and this is your own doo-doo, however. So Trump, being the only reason Trump ran for president again is it was the revenge tour. He wanted to seek vengeance against everybody he thought had unfairly come after him, even though he lost every case, which means they had fairly come after him. But so Trump gets in power, and his entire mindset is, how can I lash out and abuse people? Now, he knows that as a con man, as a criminal overlord, as the godfather of a crime family, that the IRS is the means to do him in. It's always the same. Yeah, every one of these top mafia leaders have all been done in by the IRS. And so he sues the IRS for billions of dollars. Now, he's president of the United States. You ought not be able to sue your own government, right? He's suing his own administration. Now, immediately, if you're a court and you're not afraid of him or controlled by him, you say, I'm sorry, you can't do that. There's no constitutionality that says that the government can sue the government. Sorry, no. So he sues the IRS, and he then settles his own suit with the IRS. And he says, I want a $2 billion slush fund that I can use to arm the goons that ravaged the Capitol on my request on January 6th. And that's not enough. I want a written commitment from the IRS that they will never arrest and never indict and never investigate me or any member of my family ever. And somebody wants to believe that that was above board, fair, honorable.
Sounds like a sweet deal.
Deal? No, he settled with himself, giving himself what he wanted. It's so unbelievably corrupt. It's amazing that the Twistian MAGA still pretend that his stench is sweet. And so there's a bunch of former judges and an acting judge who are saying, oh, let's open this sucker up here and let's just see what he has hidden here. He's in deep shit with this one. In fact, he's already gone and said, oh, we're going to investigate this thing. Then okay, I won't take the money. I just want the guarantee that I'm not ever investigated by the IRS. And by the way, you know what he sued them for? The billions of dollars was for releasing his tax filing. So how could he have had billions of dollars worth of damage by having the IRS do what they have done for almost every president, release their tax filings?
Right. Yeah, because the government sues the government all the time. Well, not civilly, but they bring suit against the other government agencies all the time so that they can push it up to the Supreme Court and get a ruling about whether this action is constitutional or not. The difference here is the damages and the suit over money, $10 billion.
The federal government doesn't sue the federal government. The White House doesn't sue the federal government. The federal government can sue states, and states can sue the federal government. That would be constitutional. But the federal government suing the federal government, that's not constitutional. So it's a little different story. But anyway, there's a lot of things that were rotten here, saying that you can't investigate me for crimes, you can't arrest me for crimes, you can't do an audit of me for any malfeasance, and oh, by the way, I want a slush fund that only I get to control, and I'm going to give that slush fund to the Capitol on January 6th. Right. They're going to be my private army. Every bit of that is wrong. You cannot, the executive branch of the government cannot sue an agency that is part of the executive branch of the government. It's just not reasonable.
And then settle out of court for 18%.
Yes. Yes, they did. They settled out of court.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You see, the Trumpster picked the wrong adversary.
Yeah. Yes, it's a real pleasure to have been trusted by Yahweh to be the roar that brings down that Rahab.
Oh.
But that's what the prophets revealed. It's in Yeshaya that is the intent, and it's also in the Mizmor, the 89th, that this is a job responsibility. It's part of the job. Duty is to expose him and bring him down, and we're going to continue to do that. Oh, wow. Mikey. A little bearded. There's another piece of crap. Boy, the world's full of a lot of pieces of crap. Is it any wonder that Yahweh says, I regretted creating man? I made a terrible mistake. These humans, they are really obnoxious. I'm hardly surprised that he said so. Well, here's two of the most obnoxious of them. And Mikey on the left. He wants to be the big power broker. And, and he rose within his family by tearing everybody apart. He took that family and he sidelined his father. And then he destroyed everybody that was a rival to him. He was not the heir to the throne. There shouldn't even be a throne, by the way. Country of 30 some odd million people ought to be able to choose who they have as president, but nope, not in any one of the Arab fiefdoms. He's a thug with a flag, and he did all of his own family in, just like any other godfather. And now he's bare-ass naked because the weapons that he has bought and the loyalty he thought he was buying from the United States turned out to be worthless. And he can't even get along with the other Arab fiefdoms. The UAE ought to have been one of his buds. Well, Oman should have been one of his buds. But they can't even agree as to what they're going to do. And he is a man that is bare-ass naked, exposed to the world. And when you take a narcissist and psychopath like MBS and you render him impotent, he is going to lash out, and it's not going to be pretty. And he really has only one trick up his sleeve, which is petrodollars for Israel. Not for the benefit of Israel, mind you, for the destruction of Israel. That's all he's got. He hasn't got anything else. So it's really a scary time for Israel in this regard, and for the United States with Donald Trump and then what were the three most influential psychopaths in the Middle East: Netanyahu, MBS, and the Ayatollah. And the Ayatollah is now it's his son who is badly maimed and lost everybody in his family, and is devoted to the destruction of the U.S. and Israel as a result, and should be, based upon what they have done. You have this guy who is amongst the most ruthless psychopaths in the history of the region. And he has no influence over anybody in his community or even over his own citizens anymore. And he's going broke in a hurry. And Netanyahu is lashing out at the world, all flailing.
Yeah.
Scary times.
Islam, the Wahhabis, his own, citizens, they will eat him alive.
Yeah, he's already gone on record and said, that there's lots of hadiths that we shouldn't be paying any attention to. But he can't define them because, the hadiths are all consistent with the Quran, or they wouldn't be considered legitimate hadith. And so to deny the hadith is to deny the Quran, which is to deny Allah, which is to deny Islam, which is to deny Muhammad. And so he's really on thin ice here. And there's not much ice there in Arabia. And
Maybe he should
get really hot.
Maybe he should read, Goddamn Religion.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, if he were to read Goddamn Religion, he would know what he's up against.
Mark.
Yeah, come on, Mark. There's a lot of things that old Mark Twain, he had right. But when the rich rob the poor, why would the rich rob the poor?
Right.
They're rich. The poor are poor. Why would the rich rob the poor? I mean, there's no point in even saying it, and it's called business. No, the rich are not robbing the poor. That you don't get rich by robbing the poor. You get rich by robbing the rich, not the poor, idiot. And I learned a little bit. I mean, he's a damn good author, but not much of an economist. So I just wanted to point out just the utter stupidity of that.
The only thing that the poor have is labor, and they are, except in slavery, they are compensated for their labor at a negotiated rate. I mean,
right. We haven't had slavery in the world outside of Islam in a very long time. And so if you're working because you chose that position and you agreed to that compensation. And when you say, I want more, no, it's called a strike. It's not called violence. Right. Now, there are strikers who become violent, but then the violence is violent and it's called violence because it's violent. And so there's nothing on either side of his equation here that makes any sense.
Right.
He had a bad day.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. Speaking of having a bad day, these three are really having a bad day. So this is just amazing. So the dumpster had a really, really nasty phone call with Netanyahu. I mean, they are really on the outs together. He called Netanyahu a effing idiot. He said to Netanyahu, "What are you effing doing?" Now, just to be the president of the United States, and you're asking the head of Israel that's supposed to be your ally in the war in Iran and your closest ally in the world, the only head of state that actually says something nice about you is Netanyahu. And their incursion into Lebanon has been world front page news now, and like newspapers and like the nightly news and like the internet, even on your own little captive affiliates, psychopath channels like CBS and Fox. The Israel's invasion of Lebanon past the Litani River, even up there now, they're celebrating Beaufort Castle. It's nightly news. How could you not know what Israel is doing? When he's saying, what are you effing doing? When he was told that Iran wouldn't sign the deal or wouldn't negotiate anymore because Israel was violating it, so was he, but he didn't pay any attention to it, so was he. He just went to Israel and went ballistic, and he says, I'll have to find out what's going on. That's what he told the press when the press asked him. He said, Iran is saying that Israel has violated the agreement by their continued war in Lebanon. He says, I don't know about that. I'll have to ask Bibi what he's doing. And then he says to Bibi, what are you effing doing? How could you not know? How could you be that out of touch with the world that you don't know? And then you're calling your number one ass kisser in the world a effing idiot. And then the man who is not in jail only because Elon Musk put in hundreds of millions of dollars into his campaign in the swing states at the last minute, and is a convicted felon, told a man who is on trial for cigars and champagne that if it wasn't for him, he'd be in jail. Now, Trump raped a woman. Mm-hmm. Trump violated election law. Trump inspired a revolt at the U.S. Capitol. Trump stole secret documents. I mean, Trump's up to his here in major criminal violations. He's accepted all manner of bribes since being president. He just committed a crime with the IRS. And he is the one who's telling Bibi Netanyahu, if it were not for Trump, me, you'd be in jail right now for cigars and champagne. Yeah. And then he, after the phone call, has another conversation with the media. And this is now hours after he says, I'm bored with the entire Iranian thing. I don't care what they do. I don't care if they respond or not. I'm just bored with the whole thing. I don't care anymore about a war that he started that is crippling the world. I don't care anymore. He then tells the press corps, I called Hezbollah and I told Hezbollah not to fire anymore. And then I called Bibi and told Bibi not to fire anymore, so they're not firing anymore. So what do you think are the chances that the White House has Hezbollah on speed dial?
On speed dial. Right.
And that the Donald called Hezbollah. In fact, he wouldn't even know who the leader of Hezbollah is. And that the leader of Hezbollah, who is an ally with Iran, who he is at war with, would pick up the phone and say, hey, Don, hey, man, it's good to see you, pal. Nice talk. Long time no talk. What can we do for you today? Oh, stop shooting at Israelis. Oh, sure, pal. No problem. We're with you on that. I don't know how that got out, but we'll stop. Sure. Okay.
Oops. Yeah.
And this piece of crap, as the president of the United States, stated that he had a conversation with Hezbollah, told them to stop shooting, and they agreed to stop shooting.
Right.
And you've got MAGA Christians that say, yeah, he's our guy. I mean, this is a very sick man.
Mm.
There is no correlation between reality, what he believes, and what he says.
This is not even cognitive dissonance. This is psychotic delusions. And
it is. It is, Jeff. You're right.
And, people who will do anything and believe anything. And the MAGAs, a bunch of lemmings who, if you told them to just jump off a cliff, they would.
But the really disastrous part of this is because he stepped in so much doo-doo in Iran, and there is no way to get out of it. He's now given the opportunity by so many around him to go blame Israel. So that's what he did. It's that effing Netanyahu. What in the F are you doing? Your ass would be in jail if it wasn't for me.
Netanyahu, and then it's going to be the Jews. And,
so it's he's blaming Netanyahu for Iran not agreeing to surrender.
Sure.
I mean, come on. So this is the betrayal that the prophet spoke of. You've got Satan betraying Israel, and he'll find a way to somehow blame Netanyahu without blaming Israel and then claiming that he's going to protect Israel. And they're going to believe it. It's the most gullible people on earth right now are Jews.
And wasn't it a week ago? Wasn't it a week ago that President Rahab said, I could run in Israel. I have more than 95% approval. I could be the president there.
Prime minister. And I don't even know what they're effing doing, but I could be prime minister.
Yeah. By the way, whatever happened to Epstein?
Yeah, Epstein. Yeah, or the rest of those files. Yeah. We're going to find them buried someplace in Cuba, which will be the next place they'll have to go look for them, is Havana. I suppose they're in Havana. Talk about going after Cubanos and cigars. I mean, that's cigar heaven. Trump is going to be guilty. It's
some good Cuban coffee.
That Trump, with his CIA, say you will either agree to this or we will kill you. Had the Venezuelans agree that he could steal $2 billion worth of their oil, the next $2 billion worth of their oil, and that he alone, not the U.S. government, not the Venezuelans, not an oil company, not an independent board, that Donald Trump alone, individually and by himself, with absolutely no accountability, would decide where that money goes. $2 billion from Venezuela.
I'm sure it'll be a nice charity.
I'm just sure. For the benefit of the Venezuelan and American people.
Hey, we're going to make Venezuela great again.
We are.
Paint the New Plane project.
Yeah, we got a country that has its oil infrastructure is so damaged it requires $100 billion to fix. And there's not a single oil company in the world that wants to go in there under any circumstances and fix it, because they say that Venezuela is not investable. I mean, this is really broken. What has happened in this country after U.S. sanctions and U.S. control, it isn't investable. And so, what a mess. And now you've got Donald Trump stealing their oil, and nobody even doing any inquiry and saying, okay, the $2 billion here, 50,000 or 50, was it 5 million barrel? I don't know, 50 million barrels, I guess is the number. Anyway, when the math plays out, it's $2 billion. And nobody doing an investigation, follow up and say, well, Donald, what you doing with that money? Why is it your money?
He's so bad. He's so evil. He's so nefarious. Where do you begin with him?
Yeah. So,
oh boy.
Israel, it's the map on the right that shows where Israel is in Lebanon. And Israel's getting pummeled in Lebanon. I mean, they claim that they're doing the old body count game and saying, we've killed this many terrorists. And they wouldn't know a terrorist from not a terrorist. They're not wearing badges and saying, I'm a jihadist. But they're doing the body count thing, and all the while, Israel's getting pummeled with drones. And Israel has even admitted now that they're way behind the curve on drones. But they're not resolving that curve on drones because they're still buying expensive squadrons of American F-35s, which are useless in a drone warfare scheme. So Israel's IDF has completely betrayed the country and let them be completely vulnerable to modern warfare, and they have no answer. And the Lebanese conflict is proving that. And all the while now, Iran has found a way to drive multiple wedges into the heart of the vassal arrangement between Israel and Donald Trump, saying that, I had thought that Iran was including the Lebanese war and the war against the Fakistanians in Judea and Samaria, and their ongoing battles against Hamas and in Gaza. I had thought that when the Iranians had their 10-point plan, that was just a throwaway point at the end. What they want is war reparations. What they want is continued control over the strait. What they want is their uranium left alone. They want their missiles left alone. They want the U.S. out of the Middle East. And they want all sanctions released, and they want all confiscated monies returned to them. That's their 10-point plan. And so I just thought, they're throwing in the Hezbollah and Hamas thing just to be good allies with their allies. I think we all missed it. I think the Persians are really smart, unfortunately. You know why I think they threw it in? For exactly what we saw happen last night with Trump yelling at Bibi Netanyahu.
Mm-hmm.
Because Israel can't survive waiting for the next onslaught by Hezbollah and Hamas and the Islamic Jihad and all of them. They continue to amass drones and rockets and missiles and all manner of weapons and armed jihadists. Israel just can't sit back and wait for the next attack. And Israel has no idea how to defend itself. So Israel is going and searching for jihadi. And they know that that's what Israel is going to be doing. So by coming up with a ceasefire, a way to end the disastrous Iran war by saying that Israel can't do that anymore, they're doing two things. They're assuring that their eventual escalation as Oscar Flood 2.0, which will be 1,000-fold in jihadi and drones, will be successful. And they're making certain that America turns on Israel because America will be so desperate for a deal, and the world will be so desperate for a deal to free the Strait of Hormuz, that they'll condemn Israel for making it difficult to do because of their continued fight against Hamas and Hezbollah. They set up the U.S. and Israel relationship to fail. And it did, fractured last night.
How can Israelis, Jews, Yehudi, how can they be so stupid? I'm being rhetorical.
Yes, playing into such foolhardy decisions. They're being played for fools in every front.
I mean, they're not even playing checkers.
No.
While the Persians are playing advanced chess.
Yeah, it's not. It's sad that the people who are supposed to be among the smartest in the world can continue to operate so stupidly. But as we look at what the rabbis have done with Devarim 6, 4 through 8, it's obvious that they are purposefully perpetrating harm upon themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That they're shooting themselves. They're playing Russian roulette with every chamber loaded.
Yeah, and they are undoubtedly, no matter the bombing strikes and everything. I was listening to a program last night about with this new-ish drone warfare, that the FPV drones that Hezbollah is using, that before they were able to, with these FPVs, strike 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers into Israel. They're now going 20 and 30 kilometers into Israel as an effect of being able to use them more and being able to practice their, with Israel attacking them in Lebanon, and so this has had the absolute opposite effect that they were looking for, because Hezbollah is just getting better at targeting things and at their drone warfare. Yeah,
it's all response. You attack, and people come up with a way to respond to your attack. Look what Iran did. They buried all their factories. They buried all of their missiles. They buried all of their atomic program. They buried everything that was vital to them, and they distributed it. If they thought something was going to be attacked by the U.S. or Israel, rather than having one of them above ground, they would have 40 of them all below ground. So there was, it's whack-a-mole without the mole ever appearing above the surface. And there's not 12 of them, but there's 4 times that. And you're playing with nukes and missiles and drones, and people just don't think it through. That the enemy isn't always as stupid as you cast them. I think it's probably part of this U.S. war college mentality when we found out in Vietnam, in particular, that the average GI was firing off tens of thousands of rounds, but mostly into the sky, into the ground, and not aiming to kill somebody, because humans don't like killing others. I mean, you've got to be a really psychotic human to think it's fun to go off and kill others. I mean, like the U.S. snipers that are viewed as heroes. No, you're psychopath, and you have no empathy. And so the War College came up with a way of indoctrinating soldiers such that the enemy was dehumanized, where killing them was a moral good rather than a moral bad. And I think that's largely what's happened with Israel. And when you do that, you dumb the enemy down so that they're not capable of thinking. And you end up in situations like the U.S. and Israel is in Iran, and like they are with Hezbollah, like they got played for fools by Hamas. This is what happens.
Don't you think, though, there have to be people in both the Israeli and American governments who realize that the Iranians are learning, adapting, outsmarting, outmaneuvering, and improving, while basically the Americans and the Israelis are doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on stupid?
Yes. Yeah. Israel was played for a fool, obviously, when it came to 10/7. The entire torment was to irritate Israel so that Israel would do what Hamas wanted, which was to invade and destroy Gaza, because they'd already set up everything to blame Israel of genocide, to isolate Israel from the world, make Israel vulnerable, and assure the creation of a fake Palestinian state. All the pieces were in place. That was the stated purpose, and Israel played right into it. Next slide. We're talking about that the U.S. was conducting defensive drills in the Strait of Hormuz and around the Persian Gulf. We're defensive drills. That's what we were doing. Defensive drills as we were bombing the Iranians. I mean, when it comes to personal defense, that is when somebody attacks your home and you defend your home and your family. That's a defensive response to aggression. When you go halfway around the world and you attack somebody else, that's not defensive. That's offensive. At least use the words that are appropriate. The U.S. is offensive. It's not defensive. You know, there's a reason that Trump renamed the Department of Defense. He has no intent of defending America. He has an intent of perpetrating war. When a man does something that bold, believe him.
Yeah. We were defending our bomber that you shot down over Tehran. So we had to come in and, right?
And take out your radar. Yes, we took out your radar. Imagine that. Jews just continue to get played. And here in the United States, the Democratic Party is funded in large part by Jewish donors, huge funders of the Democratic Party. They are their strategy and their purpose was largely fanned by Jewish influenced media, with a high percentage of Jews on the editorial boards and among the editors.
Mm-hmm.
And look what it got them. The Democratic Party is now about 85 to 90% anti-Semitic. They created, they funded, they enabled their own demise. I was always just wondering why Jews were continually Democratic, with about a 90% overlap between being Jews and voting for the Democratic Party. And of course, it's largely because Jews have been Marxists for a long time. But Marxism turned on Jews. When that which you have created turns on you, when are you going to be smart enough to say, I shouldn't be part of that anymore, rather than trying to get them to love you?
Well, they just haven't done Marxism right yet. They just haven't done Marxism right yet, where they love Jews. See, that's the problem.
growing up in New York City, or as like
Mm-hmm.
we like to call it, New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood why Jews or Yehudim that I knew weren't conservative, and why I had a conservative bent to me, and I was always considered, what's wrong with you? What's
Out of
different?
touch, right? Mm-hmm.
And now look what you got. Look
Mm-hmm.
what you got for a mayor.
And they voted for him overwhelmingly.
Yeah, you talk about playing Russian roulette. Why don't you just slice your carotids or cut your head off?
Be done with it. Israel now has Marxists and Jews, Marxists who want them exterminated, Muslims who want them exterminated, and MAGAs are now going to be following Trump to their demise, and they've torqued the relationship with China and with Russia so that there's nothing left of it. I mean, they are really in a bad place, and they continue to fund their own demise. I mean, they'll continue to vote Democratic, even though the Democratic Party has completely turned on them. I mean, Republican Party now has only old men who are pro-Israel. Women Republicans are anti-Israel, and anybody under 30 in the Republican Party is universally anti-Israel. And then the Democratic Party, it's about an 85 to 90% anti-Israel, anti-Jew, and yet the Jews continue to fund it, support it.
The only thing that gives me solitude is listening to Yada.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, that's how it's going to be solved. That's what's going to go down. But at what cost? It's going to happen, and it's going to happen. And we heard from Yoel, and we know just what is going to happen.
Yeah, and we have to continue to talk about this because God gave us all of these clues as to what's going to happen and how it's going to go down and how his people are going to continue to betray him and themselves. And so it's our responsibility to speak of this. If you are a person who refers to yourself as a Jew, then you have already abandoned Yahweh, because your name is Yahud.
Yeah.
And you won't even say your God's name.
Yeah.
And you are capitulating to the malfeasance of rabbis and of politicians who are slicing you up and leading you astray. And so it's important for us to expose that so that at least some sensible Yehud awake and say, no, this is a bad idea. We need to come clean. We need to shub to Yahweh. And exposing and condemning the religious and political malfeasance is an important step in that direction. Well, amongst Goyim, it's important to oppose the conspiracies and the influence of Satan and religion in their midst that has been so caustic. I mean, there's nothing more caustic to Israel than Christianity. And so it needs to be stated openly and clearly and to let people know that Christianity is their foe. It's the Christian New Testament makes it really clear that the Jews are demons that killed their God.
Yesterday's vlog, as usual, was really excellent. You covered a lot of ground, and when I listened to it again, and you spoke about the blood libel that occurred in the 10th or 11th century, that was born out of what we now call United Kingdom, Britain, that during Pesach, that the Jews would use the blood of Christian children to make their matzah.
You're right. That's what they said. And they did the same thing in France and in Spain and in the UK and in Germany and in Poland and throughout Christian Europe. It was, this notion that somehow Nazism arose out of the ether and it was the Hitler and the Nazis that were responsible for the Holocaust. That's utter nonsense. And The Holocaust happened because of Christianity and Christianity's influence in Europe, and it was spurred on by Muslims. And if you don't understand that, then you are not aware of the forces that are at play in the world. Christianity has been an enemy of Israel and of Jews for its entire existence. It is founded on the notion, false notion, that Jews schemed to kill the man who Christians call God.
Go for, Shaul, Paulos, Akiba. Let's look at the linear lines leading right to the Holocaust. Let's be real. Let's be real.
If it wasn't for Akiba, there would not have been a Holocaust because there'd have been no diaspora. And if it wasn't for Akiba, then Jews would have recognized that Dowd was the Messiah, the Son of God, and there would have been no Jesus.
There you go.
He created this problem.
And
if it wasn't for rabbis, there would be no Islam because there'd be no Quran.
Right.
So you've created your own bed, and it's filled with worms. Yeah. My advice would be to stop laying in it, get up, and walk away.
And for as long as we're here, that's personally what I feel compelled to do, because it has to be known. I don't care how many times I'm called a self-hating Jew. You can call me that because I'm not a Jew. I'm a Yehud. But
right.
You've got to look at what happened and what the truth is and what reality is. And what
self-hating Jews are like Akiba and Maimonides and the rabbis that sold Muhammad the Talmud stories, and the Jews that continue to fund their own demise in the Democratic Party. Netanyahu, Barnea. These are the self-destructive Jews. And it's important that somebody says it, because the emperor is bare-ass naked. And no one seems to want to deal with the fact that the rabbis have been and continue to be the greatest enemy of Jews, and that religion is a great travesty to the Jewish people. Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, all of which Jews created.
Well, you get like I get accused. We've been accused of being anti-Semitic or anti-Shemitic. They don't even know what that means. They don't know anything about what Shemitic means, when it's just the opposite. And they try and cut off dialogue and try and stop you from, promoting and propagating the truth.
If you had a child and your child is doing drugs, and you tell your child you shouldn't be doing drugs, or your child is got up in some kind of a cult that is warping their perspective, and you say you ought not be doing that, you're actually loving that child as opposed to the opposite. And that's what we're doing relative to Israel. But Shem means name.
Yes.
That's why Noah's son was called Shem. It's an honor of the name, and there is only one name that matters. It's the name that we began this program with. Listen, Yisrael, Yahweh is our God. Yahweh is one.
I'm thinking just like you right now, because just like we got started today, the most anti-Shemitic on the planet are the rabbis.
That's correct, because they hate Yahweh's name. They have erased Yahweh's name from his own testimony and from their lives, turning Yehud, means beloved of Yah, into Jews. Sad.
I really don't.
Yeah. It's just, I don't care about the midterms now. Now, he went out a few months ago when he realized that it's likely he was going to lose the midterms. And he went off and pouted, saying that when or if we lose the midterms, I'm going to be impeached. He said it directly. I'll be impeached. I'll be convicted. If we must preclude losing the midterms, or I will be impeached and convicted. And yes, he will. And so now when he realizes that he's lost complete control, and all he can influence now is the MAGAs. But MAGAs don't matter. They just don't matter. There's 38% of American voters are MAGAs, and 38% doesn't carry an election. In the districts that are are largely MAGA, they can carry the vote. But in districts that are not, and in districts that are you need a swing vote, he's going to lose all of them. So the only reason he can say I don't care is that if there is a new Congress, they won't be sworn in. He'll declare martial law.
Yeah, if it's not going to go my way, then, I never really cared about it anyway. It didn't matter,
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you slimy people out there, you Democrats and you other betrayers, you don't matter, so I don't care about your vote. And unless Jesus Christ is going to come down and count the votes, America has never had a free election. America has the least honorable elections in the world. He's just setting it up to nullify them. CBS News gutting 60 Minutes. CBS News firing all of their editorial team and all of their award-winning journalists is something that did not sneak up on us. Being reported now, not understood now, but being reported now. Not even understood in terms of what is the actual impetus for it. And yet, 5 or 6 months ago, I was reporting it. And the reason I was reporting it is I realized that Rose Garden dinner with Zuckerberg and Musk, and Bezos and Ellison, that was a family enclave for the crime syndicate. That was come to the Godfather. And it was, all right, you are the tech oligarchs here. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. The easy way is you do what I say. You make certain that whatever platform you have favors me. And you'll get lots of government grants. Look at Bezos and his the grants that are given now, federal government, to both Amazon and to Blue Origin. And look at Elon Musk, who wouldn't have a business without government grants. And now it's all of his business. And then look at Larry Ellison. He wanted to steal TikTok from the Chinese. Didn't like the Chinese having TikTok because it was open. And so he went to Larry Ellison and said, hey, I'll let you buy TikTok. In fact, I'll even let you close the monopolistic deals between Paramount and CBS, and you have total control. But this is the deal, pal. We're going to do a little Netanyahu on steroids here. Favorable coverage. Yep. And I'll hold off the goons. We won't sue you. We won't have the federal government sue you. We won't tie you up in the courts. What you want is approved. You get all sorts of grants. So it's the carrot and the stick. We're going to beat you senseless so that you go broke because there'll be no government contracts. And that's how America runs. Or, and you'll be sued on everything you tried to do and you get nothing done. Or you can be part of the gravy train. Take your pick. Larry Ellison picked. And the price was turning CBS into Fox. And we knew it 6 months ago. And the reason I knew it 6 months ago is I have friends whose friends were the first to be fired. And they knew why they were fired. And we reported on it long before the news picked it up. But it's really sad today. There is really no one who is doing legitimate reporting. Most everyone, even the New York Times and Washington Post. Washington Post is owned by Bezos, so they're part of the club now. But they're all literally afraid of Donald Trump and being sued. They're afraid of him. He's a frightening man. There's no question about it. There's probably been no more vicious, vulgar man ever to be in have a leading position in politics. He is far more vicious and vulgar than was Hitler, was Stalin, was Mao Zedong. They were all more disciplined and less just crude, vile, repulsive than Donald Trump. He's the worst of the worst.
Well, we don't even get we don't even get news on things that you think we could get news about. Me trying to look up to see about what is happening in Ukraine, it is 100% Ukraine's winning. They're killing Russians by the millions. Ukraine's winning. There is no outside
no,
reporting.
it's not true. It's just not true. It's like what happened in the First World War when J.P. Morgan was in a pickle. He had negotiated an exclusive deal with the UK that was fighting the Germans to supply weapons and to be their banker. And the UK was getting demolished and couldn't no longer buy weapons and couldn't pay their bills back with JP Morgan, and he and his bank were going to go bankrupt. And so they connived the idea of let's load the Lusitania up with arms, violate our standing as neutral parties, and then give the Germans the coordinates of where it's going to be, and then slow it down, and worked out the whole scheme with Churchill and with Woodrow Wilson. And then when the Germans got wind of the scheme and started to run ads saying, "Don't do this. This is being devised to get America in the war," J.P. Morgan and his cronies bought every newspaper, and they precluded the ads. They controlled the media, and that's what the tech oligarchs are doing now. And the result's going to be the same. You're going to be blindsided into war, world war, blindsided, led by the snout into world war, and you're not going to know what's going on. You can't find a mainstream news agency that's reporting on the Ukraine war accurately. You have to go to the YouTube experts, and it's effort to find a reliable source. You can't find anybody to report on the Iran war accurately either. You can't find anybody that's report on what happened to Israel during the last phase of the Iran war. No one is willing to be a journalist anymore.
It's not just this country either, because we got our friend up in Canada that can't see any news, right?
Yes.
They just block everything up there and then we talk to folks in South Africa, and they're like, yeah, we don't, there's no news about this whatsoever. We know that Iran is being, attacked by the United States, but there's no actual in-depth coverage of it. It's just, 3 minutes. Oh, Iran, is being attacked again today, and moving on to the next story. It's like, wow, we are all getting the mushroom treatment, man.
Yes, we're all getting the mushroom treatment, and it's when that happens, war happens.
Yeah. How does it feel to know that Yad is going to take down Rahab?
After a while, you hear so many things that Yahweh says you're going to do, and it's going to turn out well, that you develop a sense of well-being over it and calm over it. And I despise these idiots, so it's comforting to know that it's part of the job to speak out against them. And it's also particularly nice for me, comfortable for me, because I'm too conservative to be a Republican.
That's right.
So unlike the Democrats that are Marxists, that are apoplectic about Trump, I don't come at Trump because I'm a Democrat and liberal, because I'm not. I'm the antithesis of that. I'm too conservative economically, too conservative in terms of personal responsibility, small government, that sort of thing. I'm with Yahweh. A few men can be good or bad. Many men are always bad. So the more collectivized the institution, the worse it becomes. So I'm opposed to big government, and therefore I can't be a Republican. I'm opposed to large militaries and intrusions and taxation and all those kinds of things that Yahweh also disapproves. So to come from a position of conservatism against the twist-in MAGA Rahab is so different than anything that they have encountered. And I'm coming at them from the position of, this is what the prophet said. The prophets are never wrong.
Yeah, and let me remind my brethren that one of the titles and roles is to be the bearer divine rod of justice.
It is. It is, and it's going to not be received well by these fools. This is an example of two rabbis from either side of the world. You've got the two main groups of Jews that have different traditions, and so one wrote a book on here are traditions, and the other one wrote in the columns, this is how our traditions differ from their laws. And so and he called it the tablecloth. It's rabbinical Jews arguing over the tablecloth while forgetting Yahweh, his instructions, his guidance.
Based on man's tradition and custom. It's the most
That is correct.
ridiculous
That's all.
thing.
The tablecloth is strictly, and the place settings are all rabbinical customs and traditions, having nothing to do with placing the words of Yahweh at a place where they inspire your observations and actions.
Well, I would just say to these beguiling buffoons who befuddle, betray, besmirch, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Echad.
Yes.
And you can take your tablecloth, stick it where the sun don't shine.
It's sad, they'll have a Pesach Seder, and they will celebrate Pesach as a 7-day holiday, and they'll miss everything. They'll pretend that it is a celebration of freedom from Egypt, and it isn't. They didn't go anywhere on Pesach. It opens the doorway to life by way of the firstborn son. And the firstborn, according to Yahweh, happens to be Dod. And they don't make that connection, and they are unable to recognize that Yahweh presents Pesach as the first day of the 7-day celebration of matzah, and that matzah is the central, most important concept because it is to free our souls from religious guilt, because Dod carried it into Sheol to deposit it there. They don't even recognize that Sheol exists. They don't view that religion is guilt, and they have no concept of what the unyeasted bread is all about, or why it takes precedence over Pesach, or why Yahweh said, if you're not going to celebrate matzah, don't celebrate Pesach. That's disastrous for you. And yet that's what they do, and they make no bones, if you will, or all bones over the lamb. They put a zeroah, a lamb bone, on the plate, having no idea who the zeroah actually is.
And they make a place setting with a glass of wine for Eliah.
Yeah, and Eliah is the most anti-religious of all of the prophets. That was his entire gig, is to be anti-religious. And so when Eliah returns, he's going to wipe out the religious. Why would the religious have a place setting for him? They're trying to win him over. It's like Democrat donors continuing to fund the Democratic Party. You think you're going to bribe him? I don't think so.
Remember Archie Bunker, Dingbat?
Yes, Dingbat. Yeah. Well, it's the Jews have become what they despise. It's sad, but it's true.
It's
Well, my friend, we'll go to one more, and then we'll call it quits. Yesterday was on Christianity is really a vile religion and what they have done, and today is on Judaism. Yeah, this is interesting. This is a report being made live on 10/7. And the reporter is saying, bad stuff's happening. That there's a faction of people who have come from Gaza. This was unexpected by Israel, and they could not even identify who the faction was. All they knew is that they were seeing lots of pictures, and we saw lots of pictures coming out that morning of everyday young boys that are Muslims from Gaza, tennis shoes, jeans, parading around, taking selfies, and then running into Israel, and then calling back home and sending their GoPro pictures of them raping and abusing and killing the Jews as well as other animals like dogs, and it's just really vicious. You can't actually show it because social media won't allow you to tell the truth. I got slapped as a violation by YouTube when I checked. I was trying to play one of the programs. I think it was Rogers. I clicked on it. I guess it was on YouTube, and what it did was brought up a notice. It says, you've fallen foul of our policies, and their concern was the Sir Rotten Challenge, which is a spoof. It's humorous. It isn't inspiring terrorism. There's nothing in it that would inspire terrorism. There's no graphic violence in it. There's dancing skeletons in it. That's animation because Allah had a challenge. I mean, so I'm answering Allah's challenge. He says no one can write a Sir Rotten like he did. And so I wrote a Sir Rotten that's better than his. And so it's a spoof. It's sarcasm. And YouTube's and their YouTube police are not intelligent enough to process that and think that it is promoting violence when it is mocking Islamic violence. It's making a joke of the Islamic claims for violence. It's called the Sir Rotten Challenge, idiot. Think it through. What? God, Facebook, are you just that lost? Not Facebook, it was YouTube. Facebook is that lost, but YouTube. My God, you're being run by AI that can't think, that has no moral compass. You're floating in anti-Semitism and hatred, and somebody has a spoof, shows some humor, some sarcasm, and you want to condemn the intellectual humor.
Well, I say bless you for doing it. And as we know, when you have idiocy running or programming AI, it's artificial idiocy, artificial ignorance, and that's what you have. So I would wear it as a badge of honor because you have the gumption and you're chazak, and you don't put up with this. And look at what's been born. Look at what the team has created, and what exists now as a result of this.
Oh, I know. It's. I'm glad that have pulled away from social media. We still use two of the platforms to feed the website, but that's all we do with them. Here it's so sad that even to this day, Israel does not know why they were infiltrated, who infiltrated them, how they were played for fools, what they should have done instead of what they actually did. It's a nation as confused today as they were back then. The only difference is that what they have done to themselves since then has been incredibly destructive.
Yeah. They still don't
destroying
realize
Gaza, which is just total foolishness.
The problem is Islam. It's Islam.
Yeah. And the thing that I get about Israel is say, all right, well, they did some really horrible things on 10/7, and so we need to hold them accountable. Okay, I get that. That's a natural response. But the leaders of a nation, particularly in a nation that is as vulnerable as Israel is, have to think of, well, if I do this thing, what is the most likely consequence? So if I go in and I try to wipe out Hamas, am I ever capable of doing so? And the answer is no. And that every war Israel has fought against Islam still stands. They're never able to wipe out Islam. They've been at a war against the Intifadas, and the number of Fakistanians that want to kill them is the same. So they ought to have known that there is no way to fight a religious foe with bullets and bombs. So they should know that, okay, they were never going to wipe out Hamas, and they didn't. They should know that by bombing Gaza, even if you knock on every door and tap on every roof before you bomb them, and you pretend like I'm being really humane and responsible because I'm knocking on the roofs and I'm knocking on the doors before I bomb them, that the world's going to respond and say, you turned a place where 2 million people were living into a demolition zone. That the world's going to look at the aftermath and say, that was really dastardly what you did. And you ought to be able to figure that out, Israel.
I would hazard
but
to
yet
say
you couldn't. Why can't you do that? Why are you still buying squadrons of F-35s when the next attack, even from your prophets, and they forewarned it's going to be by millions of jihadis again, and they don't do any good?
I would hazard to guess that if the government had read Goddamn Religion or even the Prophet of Doom, 10/7 would have never occurred.
Correct. It would never have occurred if they had read them in advance, and they wouldn't be in this pickle, isolated from the world, if they were to read them now. And any Yehud anywhere in the world, or any Goy who reads them today, is going to understand what they're up against, and they're going to find individual salvation from the threat.
It goes back to what
they're
you've been
irrefutable.
saying since, from the time that I met you, way back to 2003, is words wielded wisely are more potent, effective, and meaningful than bombs, bullets,
Right.
and any munition.
Bombs and bullets make the situation worse. Words wielded wisely improve it. And
Period.
It's been a very long time since God's people have wielded words wisely, which is evident by that promotion of the phylacteries and the box boys, how corrupting of Yahweh's testimony they are. And it's tragic to see them be played for fools for all of these years, year after year. And God sees that phylactery. He sees the religious dress up, the black mourning suits, all of this religious drivel, and arguments over tablecloths. He's just repulsed.
He says, you like black? I got just the chariot for you guys.
I do. I color coordinated it for your outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And by the way, it's going to a black hole. So that's also color coordinated. So, hop aboard.
Mm-hmm.
We got it for you. All your buds are going to be there. Very religious place.
And you can do your dances there as well with each other.
Yeah. We'll bring you right back to Muhammad. He'll be there. Paul, who you enabled, he'll be there. Akiba, Maimonides, well, I'm all there for you. Of course, Eusebius will be there too, and Hadrian, and he didn't like you very much, and you have to figure out what you're going to do with him. And Titus and Vespasian, they'll all be there. And Nero, oh yeah, Caligula, yeah, well, Hitler,
Well, at least
Stalin, Mao,
Hadrian,
yeah.
Hadrian won't have any Torah scrolls in Sheol to wrap the Yehud in and set them on fire. So, at least the rabbis got that going for them.
They got that going for them, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have your priests and popes. Pope Pius XII will be there.
Oh, he will. Yeah. In fact, every pope will be there. Every pope. Every imam. Every rabbi. They all deny it, but it's for real. God said so. And he told us who was going there. And he even told us what criterion we could apply to determine who's going there. And he actually told us some people that are going there that are really going to be surprised when they end up there. But God doesn't have a sense of humor, I guess, on some of these things. When you besmirch his name, his son, and the ones that are supporting his son, he does not take it kindly. So I'm sorry there, pal. I've seen your face a lot of times. I know you do a lot of reporting for Israel, but you and your country still don't get it. And that's why we're in the time of trouble. And boy, was it troubling last night when Trump had the phone call demeaning your prime minister. You're in a world of hurt. I'm sorry. Didn't have to be that way. All right, Dr. Jeff, it's always a thrill to be with you, and Kevin, great work. Thank you, Rich, for producing this show. We'll look forward to being with everybody again tomorrow. For me, I'm back to Noach. The stuff that I'm learning about Noach is when you dig beneath the surface. Noach and Shem, baby. That was quite the twosome, and what we learned about the Teba and why it was built, and the correlation to the covenant. I mean, it's just all through that story that I'm going to establish my covenant with you, and how it was established, and the connections going forward in time. So it's quite a story. We'll be able to share it all before too long as part of this program. It's in Coming Home 6, which I'm completing. I'm going to still do the final edits of 4 and 5, which are ready to publish, and 6 is now up over 500 pages. So it's quite long. I hope in the next 2 days I'll finish the review of Noach, maybe 2 days, and then it's going to be complete the book on telling the story of Ruth and Boaz, and I just view that story as being central to understanding God's whole story. They're the exemplars of the covenant. They are the ones who deliver the kinsman redeemer. They are the very bread of life out of Bethlehem. He is that northern column in the temple portico. He is the ultimate defender of these right-hand column, that of Dowd. And he and she are Dowd's grandparents, and they would become his parents, and they would redeem the kinsman redeemer, and they would deliver him. And so it's the story that was never understood, never properly told. I guess that most people don't even know the book of Ruth is in what they would call the Old Testament. My guess, if you asked 100 people, maybe 1 or 2 would even know that it's there, and you'd have to ask thousands of people before you could get one that actually says, I know why it's there, and I know who it talks about, and I know the characters of Ruth and Boaz, and she gives the greatest speech ever in the introduction of it, and then she claims that she is going to be the Amma and deliver the kinsman redeemer. And no one seems to be able to put the pieces together to understand what that means.
Without that redemption, none of us are redeemed.
Yeah, and how this is really the story of how Emmanuel would be born and positioned to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim. In 33 CE, it's all told in the encounter between Ruth and Boaz, long before there was a Shaul, long before Israel was even a nation. The whole story is told. Right after the book of Yosha and the Shaphat. That's where it's placed. And it's the story that's never understood. The rabbis prefer to tell the myth of Esther, which is based on pure fantasy, episodes that not only didn't take place in Persia, but that couldn't have taken place in Persia. That misnomers, the like. It's kind of like taking the first half of Daniel, which is there's no correlation between it and reality, or basing a religion on Ezekiel. The Zohar is hugely based on Ezekiel, and Ezekiel is Satan's playbook. No correlation between it and truth.
Ezekiel's like reading the Quran, and
it is.
The rabbis are also obsessed with defending Miriam and saying she got a raw deal.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Ezekiel is it's worse than the Quran, because the Quran says that Allah set up the Jews for you to bludgeon, and it brings that up twice of how Allah set up the Jews and he terrorized them for the Muslims to steal their wives and their property. But the book of Ezekiel presents 25 very graphic, very separate ways to kill Jews, 25 of them. And the Quran is, supports Muhammad and his pedophilia and his rape. But in the book of Ezekiel, it's the spirit of that is speaking to Ezekiel that commits to really graphic and repulsive rapes of young Jewish women. And so, and then when they have the two visions of heaven, they're Babylonian, they're religious, they're astrological. It's so obvious that the book is false, which means, by the way, there will be no Armageddon, there'll be no Gog from Magog, there'll be no Magog War, there's no Magog Federation, there's no Valley of the Dry Bones. All of it is false, and there will be no third temple as described in the book of Ezekiel, nor a Capricorn that is measure man. All of it is farce and mythology and Satanism.
It's really saying something when you can say that reading some of Ezekiel might even make Muhammad blush.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it's the rape scenes in it are exceedingly graphic and immoral. And the 25 ways to torment and kill Jews are graphic and immoral. It's a horrible book. And it's a great shame to the rabbis for including it and thinking that it was inspired by their Hashem, because it was not. Well, thank you guys. So I appreciate having this opportunity to do the vlog on the vlog, and we'll be with you again tomorrow. Good day.
Shalom.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.